Hi Peter, thanks for speaking to us today. Peter, I was wondering if you could tell me a bit about what you think fund managers should do to make themselves more attractive to investors in the MENA region?
I think the first thing actually very important for this region is actually being close to your investors. Certainly over the last couple of years we've seen a lot of issues with trust and integrity, and I think investors certainly want to deal with companies where they see an on-the-ground presence and have some contact with them. Outside of that, we've always had a lot of volatility in markets, and actually now when we talk to clients they want short-term strategies that give them some protection, which is a focus maybe on multi-asset, and somebody that is able to have a strategy that overlays a process where they can get some tactical growth, but also being able to be quite nimble and move around. I think you also see a search for yield, and whether that comes through from fixed income investments or whether it comes through from equities, actually wanting to get paid back something in the short term that provides an element of protection.
And with the markets being quite volatile, do you find that investors are quite nervous about their investment decisions?
Yes, I think the world over, and the Middle East is no different. There is a lot of fear, which people pick up on from situations in the US or in Europe. Even in growth markets like Asia, there is a concern about inflation. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's good to be close to your investors, because you've got to be able to be there with them to explain some of the short-term issues, but also try to have some balance in the longer term, so that you do get the right mix of growth and the right mix of downward protection when things don't quite work out according to plan.
Yeah, and what would you say are the main challenges and barriers to growth of the financial sector in the MENA region?
It's a good question. I think one of the things you notice when you're in the Middle East is just the sheer diversity of the region. We have a lot of different types of investors that we try to cater for, from local investors through to investors from the subcontinent through to European investors, and all of their time horizons and risk tolerances are slightly different. So trying to have one solution that fits all is not possible. You've got to be aware of what people are after, aware of what your solutions are for them, and recognise in certain situations that they're better served by accessing different types of strategies, sometimes actually in different parts of the world. So that diversity is a challenge, but I also think it's one of the great opportunities the Middle East has. Because I think this does underpin its growth for the future.
Of course. And are there any particular asset classes that you feel will do quite well in the next few years?
Yeah, I think it's back to the first question actually, that when you think of the fear and the challenges, at the moment people are risk averse. So if you're able to pick up some yield through fixed income, which maybe is local issued bonds, actually now we're starting to see more interest in Asian high yield, Asian corporate debt, and that gives you some sort of reassurance that you're getting some yield returned to you, and that's important. Also within equities, good companies with good balance sheets are able to distribute part of that income via dividends is becoming increasingly important. So I think those two strategies are good for the short term, but I think one of the things we're also very keen to talk about now is, what do we genuinely believe is growth in the future, and how can we sort of have a better chance of success by backing, say, a Chinese consumer, or maybe the theme of inflation as it rises in the developing world, and what does that mean for investments in real assets, be they commodities, real estate, industrial or urbanisation type strategies. So those two things, one for the short term, one for the long term, I think they're both very valid for investors in this region.
Great, that's fantastic and very interesting. Thank you so much for your help on that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.